Hello, my name's Blossoms and welcome to another Genshin Impact video, and today we're going to be taking a look at my DPS Ganyu build. I've really been enjoying her kit lately and making her a part of my team, and I'm really excited to go ahead and bring this build to you guys, along with some other suggestions for different builds and whatnot that you guys might want to try, because Ganyu does have a little bit of a particular playstyle, and some people do like certain aspects of the playstyle and some people like other aspects of the playstyle, and I kind of want to go ahead and give my thoughts on each of those. But without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into the build. So first off, I'll go ahead and show you guys that my talents aren't super high or anything. These are very reasonable talent levels, as I feel like most people can go ahead and accomplish the 6 at the very least. And I felt this is a good baseline to go ahead and show off to everybody. And just a brief overview of her talents here. Yes, she has a normal and charge attack like everybody else in the game, but her charge attack does have a level 2 here, and it deals a significant amount of damage, and it is a very important part of her kit, especially if you're using her as a main DPS. As for her skill here, we have a taunt, and it deals damage on the initial hit there, and then deals a delayed explosion damage after, things are taunted to it or whatnot, or its HP is depleted. You know how it goes, basically cryo amber. And then moving on to her elemental burst here, one of the most important aspects here is the fact that its duration is 15 seconds and that its cooldown is 15 seconds and that it has a reasonable energy cost here. So if you don't know what it does a huge AoE of cryo damage for that duration, and if you can get a high enough energy recharge and manage your energy properly, you can keep this at 100% no problem, and that is extremely valuable, especially if you're using her as a support or sub DPS or even as a main DPS, and that is just something you want to keep in mind as much as possible. Moving on to my artifacts here, I went for a 2-piece Blizzard Strayer as well as a 2-piece Noblesse Oblige, and that is because I use my Ganyu more as a sub DPS rather than a main DPS. If you want to go ahead and use her as a main DPS, then I would recommend something like the 4-piece Blizzard Strayer or the 4-piece Wondrous Troop here, because that's where the gameplay differences are really going to come into effect. Because if you're using Ganyu as a main DPS, then you're going to be doing a lot more charge attacks, so you're going to want to focus on things that are going to let you capitalize on your charge attacks, like the 4-piece Wondrous Troop here, that's going to be giving you that extra 35% damage, or, just getting free crit rate, and then you can focus on the crit damage there. Or you could even do the main build of the 4-piece Hydro set and gaining a 30% damage bonus from there after you use your E skill. That also works. And that's why I mentioned that your artifacts are going to differ based on how you want to play her. I know a lot of mobile users and console users and even some PC players like me don't like to do charged attacks all the time. I don't mind doing charged attacks every now and then, but I definitely don't want it to be the main thing I'm doing, as that just isn't really fun for me. I do still do them a couple of times, and that's why I kind of wanted to go with the split set for her sub DPS build, and I feel like that was the most valuable. However, regardless of your gameplay style, I think you will benefit the most from at least doing the 2-piece Blizzard Strayer set. You could kind of match that with whatever else you want, like a Gladiator set or Noblesse set, or you could go 4-piece Blizzard Strayer, as I mentioned before, as those will probably yield the best results for you. But enough talking about the actual sets here, let's get into the main stats. For the main stats here, I went for attack percent as well as cryo damage bonus and crit rate percentage. And then for the substats here, I've mainly focused on energy recharge and crit damage. And then I tried to get in as much crit rate and attack percent as I possibly could, as those are going to be the most valuable for you. So keep that in mind. You're going to want to worry about crit damage, energy recharge, attack percent, and crit rate, as those are going to be the most beneficial. I think energy recharge actually being the most important overall. As I mentioned before, if you can keep her Q at a 100% uptime, then you're going to be doing just fine. And for those of you who want to see my specific substats here, we'll go ahead and briefly go over them. I've got a pretty good flower here with some decent crit rate and crit damage. Really good energy recharge here with some crit damage and attack percent. Crit rate, a little bit of energy recharge. Good amount of energy recharge, a good amount of crit damage here, and then good amount of crit damage, a good amount of energy recharge right here, all making my Ganyu a pretty darn good one. And don't worry, we'll go over the final attributes as well, so you can go ahead and get an idea of what my Ganyu looks like in total. But moving on to weapons here, I'm gonna say definitively the Amos bow is probably the best in slot here for her. The base attack is just really good, and the attack percent is really good, just making her attack absolutely bonkers. And the passive here is actually crazy for her kit. Don't worry, I'm gonna give you guys some alternatives you can go into, but let me just talk about this for a second. The passive here, actually, if you don't know, the passive gives you increased damage on your charge and normal attacks, which is very good for her already, but then you get an increase in damage for how long the arrow actually travels. Yes, I know it doesn't say that, it's just a kind of translation error. You know, Chinese to English can be pretty difficult at times. And basically the Amos bow increases its damage for 8% every 0.1 seconds the arrow travels, for up to 5 times. So basically that means you can get a maximum stack of about like 40% or so at Refinement Rank 1 here. But for those of you who don't know, her charge level 2 attack, the actual burst that happens after the initial hit, is affected by this travel time damage bonus. So you actually do get a damage bonus for how long it travels, and the timer keeps going until the actual second burst happens. So you're guaranteed, like, I think it was like 30% or so for the actual second hit, no matter what, which is actually pretty crazy and extremely strong. As for weapon alternatives for Ganyu, if you're doing more of a dedicated support Ganyu, then I would say Stringless is going to be your best in slot. The increased elemental mastery, as well as the increased damage on your elemental skill and elemental burst, is insanely valuable and going to be really good, especially if you're doing something like keeping her ult up all the time and then using a pyro main DPS. You'll be getting constant melt procs with high elemental mastery, is just going to be really good. You can see how they can really start to get it out of hand. And if you're going for another support option, the Favonius Warbow definitely isn't a bad one. I can't say this is the best. However, if you are looking to keep up her ult 100% of the time and you don't have very good energy recharge artifacts, then this is probably going to be your best option. Now for other DPS options, such as a sub DPS or a main DPS, then I think something like the Viridescent Hunt definitely isn't a bad option at all. However, you do have really good options, like Rust here is going to be a pretty good option. Do note that it decreases your charge attack damage, so that does suck a little bit, but I'd call this Amos Jr. in the fact that it has the attack percent substat, as well as a pretty good base attack. You could use something like Compound Bow, however that physical damage bonus isn't really going to be helping you out a ton, and you would definitely benefit more from something like Prototype Crescent, or I believe it's called Prototype Amber now. I could be wrong there. I think it's called Prototype Crescent though, was the initial name. It's the other craftable bow, and it increases your charged attack damage as well. I currently don't have it crafted here, and you know the prototypes never come, so I can't currently craft one, but that is also going to be an amazing option for you, and probably the best 4-star if you're going by my build in slot for her. Now to tally up my actual stats for Ganyu, yes, I only have a level 60 Ganyus. I'm saving the tickets here for Zhao. I only have like 60 or so, and I really need to farm out those, so I haven't been able to level her up. I am going to get her to the level 80 mark though, don't you worry. I'm very excited to get her there. But notice I've already got her at 1700 attack, even though she's level 60, and that's pretty nuts, with a pretty solid crit rate and a pretty good crit damage ratio here, as well as 150% energy recharge here, just making her absolutely get that elemental burst as often as I can. I do want to try and get this around to the 170 mark, as I think that's probably going to be the best slot there, as well as increase my crit damage a little bit more. And, you know, I also probably want to get my elemental mastery up a little bit more, as that's going to be guaranteeing that I do a little bit more damage as well. But I've also got some really solid cryo damage bonus, and I definitely can't complain about my current stat distribution. I'm just going to be refining those as I go along. Alright, I decided to let you guys in on a little bit of a secret here. This is one of my favorite teams to pair with Ganyu right now, and I will be having a team composition guide for her coming up relatively soon, so just you wait, as well as a support Zhongling guide coming up relatively soon as well, so stay tuned for that one. But let's go ahead and bully the Pyro Registine real quick with one of my favorite teams, to see if I can get you guys, you know, addicted to Ganyu as well. Oh, what? Did it out of order already? Absolute failure over here. That's alright. As you see, it doesn't really matter because this team kind of just dicked down the Pyro Regisvine there. And you know, I'm not typically one for setups or one phasing bosses all that easily. So you can tell this team's pretty darn powerful, and Ganyu really does help out a bunch. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and show her off in the open world here, just so you guys have an idea of how much damage she's doing with this particular build. And see, we're doing about 11k there on the second portion there, as well as 5k on the first. So we're getting some pretty good damage numbers in. Obviously, that's just going to get better as we level up. And then we'll go ahead and see the ult damage here. So you're doing almost 3k a tick here, and I really love pairing that with Albedo's E, because then things just die a lot more, and it's even funnier. But yeah, so that's kind of how her damage is in the open world. You see, we actually just deal really good chunks here, and you can imagine how that really gets out of hand if you're doing as her main DPS. But as I said, I've been primarily using her as a sub DPS, and just kind of swapping on and off of her. You know, doing mainly a freeze comp with Child, as I think it's funny when things just can't move at all, you know? But yeah, that was just kind of give you an idea, guys. Wait. But yeah, that was just kind of trying to give you guys a perspective of how good this kind of like sub DPS build is. She can do really solid damage on her own, but she also augments the team's damage pretty well. I really like pairing her with somebody like Zhongling as well, who can apply some pyro. If you get both of their ults going together, it just absolutely gets crazy with the melt comp. You can pair her with Bennett, do a melt comp, but lately I've just been kind of memeing around with a freeze comp with Tartaglia, and I've really been enjoying that. Anyway, that's pretty much going to be it for the video. I know this was a little bit lengthier, but I did kind of want to go over the different aspects of Ganyu and how you can build her. And I know the showcase portion was a little bit shorter as well, but I hope you guys enjoyed regardless. If you did, please feel free to leave a like and comment below, as I really appreciate the support. But anyway, my name is Blossoms, and I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Peace.